How we doing, people? We got an absolute stonker on the cards today. It's a 9-hour day planned, so we're about to head off for an 8-hour ride. We're on the roadie just because my BMC, the beloved, is getting some good loving before we go away, getting his service. And yeah, the point of today's video is I'm going to just take you through some more of my race specific goals, and I'll do that in voiceover because yeah, I just got too much to talk about. And then when we get back, I'm going to run you through a bit more about how I train myself and some of my specific training principles and things that work for me. And then the plan is to head off to the gym. So we'll see how we go with all of that. The weather has certainly not turned it on for us. It is windy, cloudy, raining and cold. Yeah, so the point of today's ride is just to keep the heart rate really low. I just want bulk time at a low heart rate, overload the body and teach it. It has to work very efficiently, otherwise it's going to die. So that's the point. All right, let's get going or we'll never get back before it's dark. I should mention, since this video is all about specifics, that I actually want my wattage for this ride to definitely below 190, and in an ideal world, honestly, I'd be happy with like 170, just something real low, because this ride again is just about low watts and low heart rate efficiency. Also, chuck a like and subscribe. I can't say that word. Like and subscribe, please. It would really help. It's tricky to have any real specific race goals coming into Europe because the simple fact is I'm travelling overseas and travelling while I'm there. If I wanted to PB, I'd be doing a race at home. I wouldn't be travelling across the world. That travel adds so much fatigue and stress. I'm not doing these races to dominate. I'm doing them for the fun and the experience. Now, let's add to the fact I haven't run for about 8-9 weeks, and there's still a chance I won't be able to run in the races and will be walking to the finish. So if I am able to run, I have very little expectations for the time, let alone the run time. Pre-injury, I was on track to run around 2:55 to 3 hours 15 in the marathon, and for the 70.3, I would have expected about a 118. My swim training has been going really well, and I'm happy with how my feel for the water is. But swim training is something that takes consistency for years to improve mere seconds. I've really only had 6 months consistent work since about October, November last year. Swim times can also greatly be affected by the tides and the currents, but given all this, I'm expecting to swim somewhere in the high 27s, low 28s for the 70.3, and anywhere between 57 minutes to 1 hour for the Ironman. With the Ironman, my focus for the swim will be to come out of the water fresh. I don't want to be getting close to the red line at all. I'm happy to lose a minute or so and know that I came out with... Just going to quickly interrupt myself to say it's been so windy that the Eagle chairlifts on Arthur's seat, they've just stopped there and everyone's stuck. Everyone's just stuck, waiting for their inevitable death and plunge to the bottom. Came out without burning any excessive energy. Now the bike, this is what I've had my focus on since October last year. It's my strength and it's the one I can improve most quickly. If I was racing this at home and didn't have all the travel shenanigans thrown in there, right now I believe I should be pushing about 310 watts on the bike in the 70.3, which say on the Melbourne course would put me under 2 hours. But given all that travel and everything, my expectations are more around the 290 to 300 watts. I just don't really know how the fatigue is going to hit me, and I'm positive that if my body copes with it all and I manage my training leading up to it and my taper, that I can not overload my body too much, and that it should be easily capable of me to hit that 310, 300, 315 mark. The Ironman is what I've been focusing on because the distance of a 70.3 is relatively easy. I can do that, no worries. but pushing solid power over 180 kilometers, now that's a challenge. So right now, I feel like I'm just scratching my Ironman potential. My mindset going into the ride is to hold myself back because I'm going to want to go into the bike and go hell for leather. I've trained so blooming hard and I would love nothing more than to outride all the other age groupers at Roth because I truly think I'm capable of that. But I also want to respect the race. I've never done an Ironman, and to be honest, my goal is to enjoy this experience and to finish. So depending on how my body feels when I jump on the bike, I'm likely to start off around the 265 watt mark, and as it goes on, I would like that to rise to an average of around 270, 275. If there's little winds, that should put me around the 4.5 hour mark. So given all that, if my body was fit, I was hoping to go sub 9 hours in the Ironman, but now with the knee, who really knows? I've trained hard for both of these races. My focus is the Ironman, so the 70.3 in France will be more of a warm-up race. I'm going there to blow the cobwebs out, I guess, and hopefully it helps freshen me up and get my body ready to race in Roth, rather than just going over there and having the one race. I think that this will help prepare me better for Roth. So we'll see how we go in the 70.3. I'm going to give it my all, but as I'm going to go into in my next video, I'm not really having a taper beforehand. In fact, I'll be climbing Mont Ventoux only 3 days before the race. So yeah, it'll be an adventure, and make sure you tune into my next video to find out more about how my final race prep's going. Alright, that's the ride done. 8 hours, average watts 178, which I'm happy with. Yeah, nice and cruisy, but still, good fat adaptation, and yeah, plenty of time forcing the body to work efficiently. So yeah, good day on the bike, 2,000 meters elevation, and it was just over 27k an hour, and it was 216 clicks, I think. So nothing too crazy, but yeah, good day on the bike. And now I'm going to go in, eat some food. Then I'm going to run you through some details about my training and how I coach myself. There's a million things I could talk about that, so I'm just going to try strip it down and give you a few of my key fundamental points about my training, and then we're going to head to the gym. Gym won't be anything too hectic. I'm not lifting super crazy weights because after 8 hours on the bike, that's a recipe for disaster and injury. So but we're going to do our physio exercises that I need to do, which are mainly calf and glute focused, and then we're going to do some running specific work. Still decently heavy, but nothing super heavy, because while I can't go and do a run off the bike, or I can't run, what I can do is I can go to the gym and I can work the run specific muscles. So I'm creating a kind of run simulation in the gym, right? So I'm still going to work the muscles. So hopefully come race day, they're going to still be there after the bike. So that's the plan. Let's go eat. Made it to the gym. I don't think I'm really going to be able to get any footage. The car park is absolutely packed and it's peak time, 6:20. So, but we'll go in there. We'll do what we said we're going to do. We'll keep working while everyone else rests. Clearly I'm tired. I can barely speak. And yeah, I'll chat to you after about how it all went if I don't manage to get any footage.
Yeah, look, they said that I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. W's only, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, I've been on a mission. Go. Okay, let's get it. Got a little time on my hands like a wristwatch. I don't got time for the breaks and the pit stop. Race through the gridlock, take it like Chris Rock. Right to the chin, still win. Heavy metals like Slipknot. Got the driving, I got tunnel vision. I just hit my stride the way I run the business. I've been making paper like I'm Dunder Mifflin. See the end game, I got one division.
After talking so much, or in voiceover, about my race goals and my hopes for Europe, I just wanted to kind of touch on, I guess, a failing of mine and a lesson learned, and that's I'd become so focused over the last few months on the result at Roth particularly, and I really believed I could win outright in my age group, and I wanted it so bad. And there's nothing wrong with that, but what there is a problem with is getting too focused on the result, because we actually can't control the result. Jan Frodeno could decide to race in my age group, well, not really, but hypothetically, and I can't control that, so I'm obviously not going to win. But I could rock up and I could do 30 minutes worse than, another race, but I could still win because, no one else good has turned up, or I could get a flat, or the wins, I could get my nutrition wrong. There's so many things that could go wrong, so we actually can't focus on the result, and focusing on the result sets you up for failure. And I set myself up for failure kind of mentally when my knee injury, when I realized this thing was sticking around and wasn't going to be an overnight heal. And I had a bit of a meltdown. I had a bit of a breakdown when my knee, when I realised that I might not be able to run for a while, because this feels like it's meant a lot to me, this race. I have such a burning desire to show what I'm capable of. I see in training every day the numbers and the work I'm doing, and I know that I'm capable of a good performance that is comparable to some very competitive professionals. Like, I know that's within my reach in the near future. So, it's just a matter of managing the patience, I guess. I don't have patience, and I want the results now. And so, the setback of the knee really bummed me out. I definitely lost perspective on life even, and it's okay and important to be able to focus on your training, and if you want to be the best at anything in this world, you've got to be slightly obsessed about it, and I can do that. I have no problem with working hard and pushing myself and focusing on the result and giving absolute everything in my life to that. My problem is continually pulling myself back from that. I'm 23, I'm still an age group athlete. I'm not fighting for the first place of the Ironman World Champs. I need some perspective. I still have to go to work to pay my rent. I still have other things involved in my life. This trip to Europe isn't all about results, as I've said. It's about enjoying life and enjoying the experience. But I want to win, and I want to win now. The knee injury has been a blessing in many ways. I think it's been a good reminder mentally of what I need to focus on and the things that I want to get out of this sport and what I want to get out of my life, and also sets me up better long term. No doubt there'll be more injuries in the future, but this has been good practice on how to deal with it physically and mentally. And I also think that, moving forward, I now am way more aware of potential setbacks with my knees and certain injuries, and I'll be able to manage that much more carefully, I think. And I think, I'd much rather this injury come now than in, 3-4 years' time, when I do believe I'll be racing as a professional and as a competitive professional and making a living out of the sport. So, this has just been a good learning, and if you can take the learning from the lesson, then it's not all for nothing. But if you don't take the learning from it, then it was all for nothing. So that's my little deep and meaningful, and now we'll get stuck into some of my key training methods or methodology or whatever kind of word you want to use. All right, so I've broken down my, key fundamental ideas about how I coach myself and how I approach coaching others, and what my thoughts on training are. So three key fundamentals. Number one is aerobic training rules, and I have found from experience for me that bulk zone 2 training increases my speed, increases my power, increases my efficiency, allows me to train more, because you're not, overloading your body with too much fatigue. So you can do more, get fast, it's a snowball effect. And as you know, just Google Zone 2 training, and there's so much evidence to support it. And I don't think we do enough of it. Like, when people say Zone 2 training, like for example, I just went and did an 8-hour ride, basically, at Zone 2. And that's just awesome for the body. Like, you are overloading the body. Like, you are forcing it to not just, work easy for 2 hours, but you are going, you're telling the body and the brain going, holy smokes, like, this bloke is going forever. Like, we better get efficient, because otherwise we're going to pass out. Now, if you go do 2 hours of Zone 2 or whatever, you just don't kind of get that effect. So I feel like people are afraid to kind of do those long rides, those long efforts, because they think it's going to take too much out of them or whatever. But sure, like, when you do a few to start with, it hurts a bit. But like, my body feels fine, like, right now. Like, yeah, I'm obviously tired and I'm hungry, but like, I'm not really going to feel it too much tomorrow, and the day after I'll be fine. Like, that's because I kept the power down. Now, if I'd have gone and ridden it at 220 watts average, that would have been different and would have taken more out of me, and unnecessarily. So do it smart, but aerobic training is so important, especially as a young endurance athlete. You need to build your engine. You need to teach it to work efficiently. If you just go and do efforts, then your body's going to be working so much harder, because if you can train your body at, if I can train my body at 190 watts, 200 watts, for that to just be an absolute piece of piss, then 250 watts isn't that much more. And it's already working so efficiently at that 200 watts. Now, if I'd have just gone out and done 250 watts, like 250 watt efforts, sure, the 250 watts might feel easy, but the body's not going to be working as efficiently. And there's heaps of science behind all that. You can go and read about that. But also, everyone's body works differently. I'll just throw that little disclaimer in there. But yeah, aerobic training rules, and people are too afraid to do big days like this. And you shouldn't be, because if you go do it, I guarantee you'll get fitter, faster, and you'll feel better. Yep, it's pretty simple. You want to get fitter and faster, you ride more, you do more. You do more correctly, Zone 2. Fundamental number 2, and that is blocks within blocks. So the best example I can give you is Saturday and Sunday last week, I had swim and gym sessions, and I did big swim sets. So the Saturday was a super intense hard set, short hard set. So I'm trying to, by doing a short hard efforts was a big set. Short hard efforts, what you're doing is you're forcing the speed up, right? Your body's all of a sudden going, how do I process all this lactic? You're forcing your roof up, your ceiling up. And as a result, those sessions like really fatigue the body. They are hard to process, like hard to deal with. So, and then I did a really solid gym set afterwards as well. So bang, fatigue is right up. Then what do you do the next day? In order to get more out of those sessions, And specifically building into an Ironman, it's all about endurance and doing things a long distance as easily and efficiently as possible. Is what do? You do another big swim set, but obviously I was super fatigued, so I don't want to go and do like hard efforts and just have sloppy form and it all just be rubbish. So do a big aerobic set. So I did 4.8k of a good aerobic work with a few. There was 3 400s I did in there, just straight freestyle, which were at a solid like race effort pace. So what that does is that just goes on from the day before, and that exaggerates that the influence and the effect of that training. So, and then we did another gym set after that. So then this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're Wednesday now. Monday we had 5 by 10 minute efforts at 300 to 305 watts with 5 minutes easy between. So that was a specific 70.3 TT set. And then Tuesday, I actually had 5 hours of a ride planned, and I had 4 30 minutes at 230 watts. So just like a tempo effort planned, but I ended up not doing that. And I only did a 2 hour easy because I woke up with a bad headache because on the Monday, I actually got another COVID jab and a flu jab at the same time to get ready to go for Europe. So I didn't want to push it and I was pretty pooped. So I just did 2 hours easy. But then today we've done an 8 hour ride. So, and then I'm about to go to the gym. So what we've got there is another little cycle block. So the point of doing the TT efforts on the Monday while I'm fresh is because I wanted to test how easy that 300 watts felt. I didn't want to smash myself either. Like if I was to wake up and do those efforts tomorrow morning, that would be solid and is just too much for me while I'm trying to work as well. Like I just can't recover that quickly. But if you're smart about how you plan it, you can still get the work in. So today, the point of the 8 hour ride and why it was put at this point was because I've had 2 days before this of solid cycling. Well, yesterday was 2 hours easy, but still adds something to the fatigue levels. And the day before, obviously being a very solid ride. So what that does, adds more to today. So yes, it was 8 hours, and if you look at it, it's on its own, but when you take into account the days before, it adds even more merit to it. So blocks within blocks are such a good way of getting more out of your training when you are busy and when you're when you just don't have the time to recover that pro athletes do. So if you're clever, you can get, one person's 18 hours versus someone else's 18 hours. Someone that schedules blocks within blocks like this is going to get so much more training effect than someone that just does their standard 18 hours where they do, as all coaches prescribe, your general coaches prescribe, you do your long ride on Saturday, your long run on Sunday, you do a couple things scattered throughout between. Doesn't work. It's not as effective as this. So, blocks within blocks. If you're not doing blocks within blocks, think about it, about what I've said. DM me if you have more questions, or try to implement them because you'll notice the difference. All right, so fundamental number 3 that I consider when planning my training is specific intensities. Now, if I'm preparing for Challenge Roth and I think I'm going to do 270 watts, I don't just go out and ride 270 watts for all my training. While it is important to do those watts, you need to consider increasing your roof, your ceiling, and increasing your efficiency at a lower effort. So if I can increase my efficiency at around that 200, 230 watts, then all of a sudden the 270 becomes a bit easier and I can hold that for longer. If you start doing 300 watts, then all of a sudden your ceiling increases again. So that's where also the good thing about doing a 70.3 and an Ironman and the Ironman after is the 70.3 bike training can kind of like actually help boost the Ironman. So that's where I'm doing some short, hard stuff, even doing some 1 minute effort and 20-second all-out sprints, because I think it's so important to keep the ceiling high and keep teaching your body how to work at such a rapid rate. So specific intensities, focus on what is the purpose of that session. So don't just go to a whole heap of, don't go do some 70.3, some Ironman, some sprint efforts all in the one session. Like what you're not getting the point out of that session. And also, when is that session being scheduled? So if I was able to run, I would be doing it is very easy to get lost in doing grey zone training. So have a hard think about, or to what, you know, whatever your tests are saying, or whatever your previous racing history says, what powers can you hit? Don't be over ambitious either. I have been bad at that, being over ambitious. Oh yeah, my 70.3 race pace is like 340 watts. Like, no, it's not, Jesse. It will be, but not right now. So get the most out of your training with specific intensities. We don't have time. We're not pro athletes to recover from, you know, making mistakes or doing too much of that middle stuff. Hit the specific intensities, and when you're not hitting your specific intensities, do easy work. No point wasting energy. So that's 3 of my, I guess, fundamental thoughts that I think about every single week when I schedule my training. So, and I think they're important things to keep in mind if you're coaching yourself or you're being coached, and maybe, you know, maybe he's not doing it quite right, you know. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed hearing some of those insights, and if you got any more questions, put a comment below. I could talk for literally 20 hours on this topic. There's just so much to talk about. So we've scratched the surface.
Be niet met jou, dat is hoe voor mijn luck. You do it for sure, but he left with a why. Yeah, we live, but we destined to die. And just chill it on me, but I'm ending a lie. I'm a lie, en ik voel me net Memphis Depay. En ik jag op de goed in de scene. Moest eigenlijk rennen, we lopen misschien. En ik wil niet eens kijken, mijn ogen die zien. Is er niet genoeg dat ik kopen we 10. Hoef in een bean, hier co-star. I got 5 on my name, I got no star. Come to me just to see how my shoes are.
They said that I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. W's on it, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, I've been on a mission. Go. Okay, let's get it.